in association with Bonhams, we're really proud on the channel to bring you an official preview of the Autumn 22 sale. And I'm joined by Ben from Bonhams, and we're here in this fantastic location at the Haynes Motor Museum with these wonderful Formula One cars behind us to show you some of the highlights from the sale. And we're going to begin with this, an absolute cracker. It's a 70s, what, 750 SS Ducati?
Yeah, 1974 750 SS Ducati. Very, very beautifully presented from long-term ownership. The gentleman who's selling the motorcycle has had 3 of these during his motorcycle career.
Okay.
He's had this one for the last, I think it's the last 20, 25 years approximately.
Wow.
Kept in a carcoon in a humidified garage, and you can see how much care he's taken and how much pride he's had in this motorcycle. In fact, I know it was a really tough decision for him to sell the bike. He knew the bike when it was being restored in Switzerland.
Okay.
And the invoices that we've got on file for the restoration are quite extraordinary. I mean, a huge, huge sum of money was spent on bringing this bike up to the standard that it's in now. It then was sold to a collector in America who I think was in the fashion industry, kept it in his whatever 15th floor apartment.
Oh, very nice, yeah.
And then our vendor bought it from America back to his collection and has kept it cosseted, heated, warm ever since.
Yeah.
Original fiberglass tank. He's been very careful not to use it for risk of damaging it from,
it's not lined then, but it's original as it would have left the factory.
Absolutely.
That style, yeah.
But he has had it running with a slave tank fitted to it. So otherwise, there are, a few minor things, like the seat should be in leather rather than in suede, but nothing that's too dramatic or difficult to change. And overall, very, very nice.
The ultimate of the round case Ducatis, and like I say, I've seen 1 or 2 of these come up in auction over the years, but I've never seen one in condition like this.
No, it's really, really lovely. Estimates 140 to 170,000 pounds, which seems about the right level to me. But if that's a little bit too rich for your pocket, we do have a one owner from new 900 SS from 1982, 10 to 15,000 pounds as an estimate, which again seems very, very good value to me. And we've also got a 450 Desmo from the same period as this, which will also be coming across the block.
Very nice, very nice. Moving on from this stunning Italian machine then to pre-war British bike, another icon, the Gold Star, but this is a very special Gold Star.
Yeah, this is something really, really special. It's actually the earliest one in existence.
Right.
Coming from a very, very well-known collector, the late George Wander, who we all knew extremely well, and is a great loss to the motorcycling community. This bike he used and campaigned. In actual fact, the evidence of his use is still on the bike with the Coupe Motor tag, which is on the frame. I was at him at that event where he was riding it. And he obviously took great pride in his machines, and absolutely the right thing to do, conserving this bike.
Yeah, I mean, that is incredible that it's been left like that in its original finishes, largely. And I mean, he was a real expert and historian on these bikes, wasn't he? He's got an excellent website that he built, which is a great reference point for anyone interested in these JM24 early machines.
Really, he was the man. When it came to these bikes, there wasn't anyone else out there who would know more than George about these early Gold Stars.
So it's got a good provenance for that as well.
Fabulous provenance. This is actually the second example built and the oldest one in existence. Matching frame and engine, and was a running bike. George used this. He wasn't afraid to use it either.
So it could be used again and enjoyed. Early edition one. I mean, we did a video on this earlier in the year showing the history of the Gold Star, and for me, this is the one that, I love this edition. It's superb.
Estimate is 20 to 30,000 pounds, and it is being sold at no reserve.
No reserve.
And again, really one of the ultimates for the Gold Star or the BSA collector.
So George, there's another bike from his collection as well, I believe.
Yeah, well, George was also really well known for being a Rocket 3 expert. In fact, George's nickname was Rocket George.
Yeah.
And we've got the bike that he owned from new in the sale. Very original motorcycle.
Yep.
Very nicely presented. Again, something which he took care of, and we're very proud to have in the auction.
Yeah, and he was a BSA man through and through, and responsible for building and the replica Wall-Handley M23 Empire Star, which can be seen at the Brooklands Museum, and we filmed that earlier in the year, and it's a superb thing. That is lovely. A bike with Gold Star race heritage, as it were, onto another race heritage machine with an incredible story to tell. Yeah,
well, that is the machine that Barry Sheen rode in his last ever race-winning event. 2002, Fred Walmsley, who Barry had an extremely close relationship with. In fact, Fred prepared all of Barry Sheen's for him in his later career. Barry wasn't going to do the 2002 Goodwood Revival, but whilst Fred was over in Czech Republic for the last round of the Inca Series with John Cronshaw riding this bike, he got a phone call from Barry to say, I want to race at Goodwood. I think that was on the Sunday.
Yeah.
Fred and John rode day and night to get back into the UK. John having won the Inca Series on this motorcycle. They, day and night, back to the UK to get the bike ready. At this point, the engine is quite tired. Fred managed to, I think they got back on the Tuesday evening. By Wednesday evening, Fred's at Goodwood with the bike, ready for Barry to use. On practice on the Friday, the engine lasted about 1.5 laps. So the late George Cohen, another great friend of ours, had one of Fred's 90 ball Manx engines. Fred made a phone call, George loaned the engine, came down on the Friday, everything was installed, and on the Saturday, Barry finished second, and on the Sunday, he finished first.
Amazing.
Yeah. Now, the bike, as you see it now, isn't quite as Barry rode it on that day.
Okay.
We know it's the original frame. We know it's the original fairing. The engine is now the Cronshaw engine, so FW02 in frame FW02.
It was the original pairing, but
original
not
pairing.
Raced at Goodwood.
Yeah. It's not the original rear swing arm, it's not the original forks, it's the original back wheel, it's not the original front wheel. But even so, it's the bike that was used on the day. Fred sold it April 2003 at the Stafford show to a consortium of collectors. They had a bit of a disagreement as to how the machine should be kept. One of them wanted to race it, the other guys wanted to preserve it. So August that year, it was sold to another collector, and we're now selling it on behalf of the family of that collector. And the estimate on that is £55,000 to £75,000, which for something as special as Barry's last ever race bike, I think is fair. Again, it reflects the fact that it's not the engine, and it's not the rear swing arm, and
but that's the life of a race bike. Things get swapped.
Exactly. The
heart of the machine is there, and the photography that goes with it. It's on the catalogue, or in the catalogue, and on the website. You can see the story unfold there of the race, the event itself, and there's some great images.
I mean, you rarely find a race bike where there hasn't been some major alterations. Such is the life of a race machine. Frames get bent, engines get blown, parts get replaced. But it's got some really fantastic letters of provenance from Fred, confirming that it is the frame. And
it's wonderful.
It is. It's really wonderful. I mean, a real sort of special moment.
Wonderful race machine, and there's some great competition machines in the auction to look forward to.
Always have a great selection of race bikes, and in particular for the autumn sale, we've got the Warwick Blackwell collection. Well-known personality at Stafford, someone who again was a regular attendee at our sales, and it turns out he had an amazing collection of race bikes, which my colleague James has consigned to the sale. And when he went to visit Warwick's family, the bikes were in sheds, garages, containers, and it was all, you know, sort of all over the place. But it's there's a lot of, sort of TZ, Yamahas.
Okay. Yeah.
We've got 250 Harley Davidson. We've got MZs, and we've spent a lot of time trying to piece the parts back together. A lot of stuff was not in components, but it was, you know, parts have been taken off and scattered. But that should be really interesting, and those bikes are all going to be sold at no reserve.
So from a stunning racetrack machine to this incredible race replica, early 90s, NSR, 250, two strokes in particular at the moment from this period are becoming very collectible, very desirable. And this looks stunning.
Yeah, achingly rare. I mean, I don't know how many made their way over to the UK. Approximately 1,500 were produced for the Japanese market.
Okay.
And this, I think, a lot of people would consider to be the ultimate 250 race replica. It's been registered in the UK since 1995.
Okay.
Single owner since that point. It's done just under 24,000 kilometres from new. And, I mean, as you can see, this is all original paintwork transfers.
Yeah. The graphics are superb. That Rothmans, you know, logos from that period, just really iconic.
Well, I mean, isn't it great to have the Rano right there?
Who parked that there?
I don't know, honestly.
That's handy.
But it's fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And like you say, really up and coming, and kind of where the market is heading at the moment. Estimate £10,000 to £15,000, and it'd be very interesting to see what this sells for.
Yeah, I mean, it is stunning condition. There's the bodywork, no cracking around the sort of points there where it fixes to the frame. Oh, I love the Pro Arm rear suspension on these.
Yeah.
Truly. And there's going to be a 90s hall at the show at Stafford. So this really is...
It fits very nicely in
period,
with the sale, with the show. And again, if you look at the pegs, the handlebars, everything, nothing's been down the road here. Everything's really, really nicely presented.
Brilliant. And this is one of a number of Hondas in the sale. There's a couple of others in particular that caught my eye. There's a really nice CBX 1000, a really early one.
Yeah, so we've got the pre-production CBX. That should, again, be very interesting to see what that achieves at the sale. Sandcast, of course, so very, very rare.
Yeah.
Then we've also got the Knickerbocker CBX, which is getting a lot of interest.
Yeah,
on, you know, we saw it at 1,000 bikes.
Yeah, saw it at Mallory Park.
And
really unusual
actually,
machine.
this bike's been at 1,000 bikes. We know that the gentleman, as evidenced by the scrutineer sticker on the front. But yeah, the Knickerbocker bike should be really interesting to see what that achieves.
I'm joined now by Andy, who's a motorcycle specialist at Bonhams. Good to see you again, Andy. And we're going to start looking at this bike, which is an Excelsior Super X, something you don't see much in the UK for certain.
You really don't. I mean, so 1928, it actually was used by the Dutch police back in the day. It's just a really unique thing. I mean, in the UK, they're so rare. And the guy actually imported it in from Holland, from the Yesterday's guys, and had it since 2015, used in part of his collection, used around the UK, which, as you've seen with the clutch and everything, is pretty terrifying to use on the road.
Yeah.
But you've got to be careful of, you know, how you use it and not get into that mindset of the British way, trying the American way.
Very unusual compared to the Brit bikes. It's a fantastic example. And V-twin, inlet over exhaust.
Yep. With a foot clutch as well.
Foot clutch, right, just to make things even more challenging.
Even more interesting.
And electric kits on these as well, which you didn't get on many UK bikes.
No, you didn't. It all works really well. I mean, the lights actually work pretty good, and especially in the dark, you can actually see compared to British bikes, which, you know, with the Lucas jokes, you actually could use these properly on the road.
And it is a running example, this one?
It is, yeah. Actually used by Alan Cathcart about a month ago for an article coming up in, I believe, Real Classic and other titles. And yeah, I saw it run, and it sounds fantastic with the open pipes there. Just a real good American bark to it.
Superb. And what's the estimate on this one?
£20,000 to £24,000.
It's a lot of bike for the money.
It is. I think it's a real unique example, especially if you're into like the Americano and that kind of scene. This is the kind of bike that you don't really see around here in Europe. And I think it's the kind of nice little gem in your collection to have. Superb.
So moving from an American machine to an unusual European Danish machine, this one.
Exactly, yeah. Nimbus. So really interesting manufacturer. They're only known for creating 4-cylinder bikes.
Oh, okay.
And you can see in the later designs, they were more working towards the car engineering, having the enclosed crankcase and the gearbox. I believe they were used by the Dutch postman as well.
Okay, so, really sort of utilitarian machine back in its day. but at the same time, quite exotic in being an inline four.
Yeah, I mean, you can, and especially shaft drive as well. So there's no chain to clean, very unique and very good, especially low maintenance.
Pressed steel frame on these as well, which is
pressed
quite
steel.
unusual,
I mean,
isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what kind of set them apart from that kind of with FN as well, who also did 4 cylinders at the time. It kind of set them apart. They also, Nimbus were one of the founding creators of the telescopic forks.
Oh, right, okay, didn't know that. So interesting machines, quite unusual. Again, you don't see many of these in the UK, but
No.
what's the estimate on this?
This is £7,000 to £9,000.
There's plenty of earlier machines in the auction
Yeah,
as well.
we've got a really good selection of Pioneer machines dating from a 1904 Ariel, 1906 Peugeot V-twin, 1912 New Hudson, which was actually granted the second ever Pioneer certificate ever made,
Wow,
which is
yeah.
really great, and a fantastic history of Angus Maitland, who was owner of Trump Jap manufacturer, who raced in
Okay.
Brooklands, which is amazing history. And also a 1912 Abingdon King Dick, and also a 1913 Rudge Multi, which is, we think, is in lovely original condition.
So, yeah, something for everyone there
Yeah,
then, so, which is great seeing. So, Andy, remind us how we register for the sale.
So you can register online or you can register in person when you come to the auction itself. Now the sale is taking place on the 15th and 16th of October, and we're part of the Classic Motorcycle Mechanics Show. So yeah, come along, have a look. The online catalogue should be on soon. Full lots, descriptions, pictures, everything. There's over 600 lots. So
Wow,
there's
lots to go at.
so much to cater.
And it's a great event to go to, and I can thoroughly recommend it. It's great being there at the auction itself. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you at Stafford.
Can't wait, pal.